let's just check. Let me just check and see that we're actually on. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like it. We're live. Good stuff.
Good
All
stuff.
right. So, what's up? You've been posting a lot of naked photos. Okay,
Oh,
half naked.
wait, what'd you say?
You've been posting a lot of naked photos.
Oh yeah, man, that's me. All right, posting naked photos. I'm not one of those weirdos though that posts like a physique picture in their my underwear, and I got like a half chub. It'll rate my physique. Oh yeah, sure, buddy. You want me to tell you you got a massive cock or something? Like that's
Yeah.
not me. That's not me, man. I don't know. I just figure this is nutrition, this is health, this is fitness. At least that's what I'm interested in. And like if I'm posting, oh, I feel so amazing on this, or this is going so well, I try to have something to back it up a little bit.
Yeah, the proof's in the pudding, isn't it? Yeah, I'm just pulling your leg. Yeah, and yeah, I agree. I mean, I think for the uninitiated, it may be a little bit surprising to see all those, let's say, naked upper body physiques in our thing here, but you know, that's part of the point, isn't it? We want to get healthy and be in top shape. That's what that's at least a lot of us do. So
Yeah, I mean, myself personally, I used to smoke a lot of weed. Used to smoke a lot of cannabis, and I haven't smoked any in the new year at all. So I'm going pretty strong. But like, I can say like I used to be pretty insecure about posting anything, whether it was a shirtless picture, or just a thought, or a tweet, or anything. And I kind of believe in that concept of like, but like be yourself. Not everybody's gonna like it, but like you're gonna in doing so, you're gonna attract the people that do. And honestly, like what kind of person are you to be offended by a physique photo or something that you know what I mean? Like who
yeah, it's pretty
cares?
harmless, isn't it? I mean, yeah, and if you're somebody that's offended by that, then maybe you're in the wrong place. You're looking at the wrong. You're just in the wrong place. I
Exactly. Yeah, go ahead.
and I think the yeah, I like the thought of being yourself. I like the aspect I like about that is that at least be honest, at least be genuine, and at least don't be disingenuous and in your interactions. Um, that doesn't necessarily mean you always have to say everything that's on your mind,
No, yeah.
or a carte blanche to be an asshole. I don't think that's maybe good advice for anyone. But I think the part about being um, having integrity, basically, and then moving within the borders of integrity. And I think in our space here, um, my feeling is that most of our friends are definitely have very high integrity and are very uh, honest and open about what they're doing. I mean, most of the people in my age group are kind of recovering from having been more or less unhealthy uh,
Absolutely.
through primarily through a low carb diet of sorts, maybe carnivore, many of them as well.
Yeah, I was just talking to my sister on the phone today because it's her birthday today. She turned 29, and
All right,
we kind of talk about like
congratulations.
yeah, the big 3-0. Like my mom said she cried on her 30th birthday, but I was saying like, dude, like I follow people on Twitter that are 45 plus living their best lives, like, and it's given, not like I was ever like insecure about growing older, but like it gives me more life knowing that there's so much more life ahead. You know what I mean?
Yes, I, I do think that you know as empathetic as we might be, I think there are some differences in in growing to a certain age. If you're a man and if you're a woman, it's not the same. So
Yeah.
I think the you know whatever it's in my generation, a lot of people talked about the biological clock ticking. etc. And I think for a lot of women, this is something that puts some it generates some pressure, or they let it generate some pressure, and that I'm not gonna say it shouldn't or it should. It's but it's understandable for sure.
Hmm.
And I think as men, we to an extent, men and women live in completely different universes in my experience,
Yeah.
and those two universes do well in uh, being allies with each other and working for the good of the world.
Yeah, I mean, I remember there was this girl I worked with out in Chicago, and she was like 34 years old, and like she's like crunch time to have a baby. You know what I mean? And
Yes, I know what you mean.
she's like, she's like, I gotta find a guy, and then like I need to like I'm getting old, like I need to have a kid, and I'm just like, as a guy, I'm like, maybe also because I'm only 27, but I'm like, that's crazy. Like you look like the same age as me. Like you got years, homie. Like, but you know,
Yes, but I think she's right. She's more right than you are
yeah,
in this case, and
yeah,
I think for you, of course, you can just you can just faff about, do what you want. You're a dude, you can wait until you're 45 or whatever. It doesn't matter.
yep.
It does matter, but it's not quite as time critical. And I think there are some. I haven't seen the statistics, but there is some. I've heard uh, that if the father is older, there is a higher risk of some genetic illnesses, etc. For the child. So it's probably if you found your mate and it's good, um, get the kids before you're too old. I think that's a good idea. That's how we're biologically programmed anyway. And then of course, you can't really prepare for it. It's going to be very different to have kids and have a family than anyone can really imagine before they get it. And I'm not going to lie that it's easy. And I was when my kids were small, I was traveling the world doing business. I was working all the time, so I was very little involved in that when they were small. And then I've been much more involved when they got a little bit older, especially as teenagers and now as young adults. But it's the biggest project in your life, and probably the most important one, I would say, for most people. Um, of course,
How
if you're a narcissistic psychopath, your career is probably more important than your kids, but it really isn't.
I believe that. How old were you when you started to realize like you want to have kids? Like, was there a moment you're like, I'm ready to start having kids, or a certain age?
No, I kind of I don't know. I always kind of thought, I want to have, I'm going to have a family. I'm going to have 4 or 5 kids, whatever. Anyway, so I had 4 kids.
Hmm.
I mean,
Cool.
I was part of the process of making them, but I mean, as a man, your part in producing the child is not very big, is
I guess not. I was actually born on one nut.
it?
That's why I
Yeah,
say I'm a miracle, my friends. I'm a miracle.
that's all you need.
Yeah, but no, that's
Yeah, no,
cool.
yeah. So I kind of always knew, I suppose. It's not something I felt that it was, nothing specifically planned, nothing, nothing laid out, nothing, no calculations, how expensive is it to have a child or any other, sorry to say, nonsense. I understand that it's not nonsense, but to an extent, it's. I mean, people, come on.
Are you look like do people? Because I'm young, so this is just I don't think this is something my generation really thinks about. But do older people look down on other older people that don't have kids?
No,
Okay.
no. It's well, I don't know. I can speak for myself. I don't really care. I, I think if anything, I maybe feel a bit sorry for them, but but people make their choice. I mean, there I know several people, several couples who chose for whatever reasons not to have kids and to live for themselves. And who knows? Maybe they're happy. Maybe they're happy that way. It was just I never thought about that for 1 second at
Right.
all. It's absolutely clear for me to what it was going to be. So
Yeah, with my ex, I mean, we're pretty young, but it was like, oh, I don't want to have kids growing up, and then once we broke up, all of a sudden it's like maybe a possibility. You know what I mean? But like it's just kind of interesting. My ex, she kind of was saying that hormonally, and I don't know if this is true, that like for women, you around like 27, 28, you start to get like an urge to have children. And she was saying that's like a hormonal instinct. I don't know if there's any merit to that, but like as I turned
probably.
27 and I'm starting to get more comfortable with my career and seeing the career trajectory, it's like, okay, yeah, I could eventually like probably have kids, but the prior years, I'm like, I don't want to have fucking kids.
Well, I'd say in my case, if it was about my hormones, I was ready to have kids pretty early.
That's funny, man. That's funny.
But anyway,
Back to the topic of like the physique photos too. I just wanted to say like sometimes I feel like we kind of pander to insecurity. And there was a moment last
mhm.
summer uh in Chicago where I was like with a couple coworkers. We were just like it was Friday. We're off work early. We're drinking, at the pool at Lifetime Fitness in downtown Chicago, and then we're taking a walk to the River Walk. They're gonna get a couple more beers, whatever. And like I remember I took my shirt off because it was 97 degrees. And like it's one thing if it's like 97 and like you're in the woods and you're in a grassy area, but like if you're on the pavement and it's 97, like that's brutal. So I just took my shirt off because I was hot. And my coworker, I'm with like three dudes, and he's like, "Oh, put your shirt on, man. Like, what are you doing?" And it's like, who fucking cares? Like, so I just feel like
Yeah,
I
I
don't.
don't know.
We gotta. It's don't
Maybe it's
pander
body
to.
positivity. What do you think?
No, I think it's just insecurity. Like it's like,
Yeah, no, just joking.
yeah, we gotta. I don't know. There's a lot of inferential leaps going on, and you gotta just do whatever the fuck you want, and don't make so many inferential leaps.
Yeah, I think there are plenty of people who they seem to. I think it's kind of a defensive type of. They have a defensive type of life strategy when it comes to interactions with other people, and they kind of take the defensive route of making fun of other people first, being very quick to comment on what other people do in a negative sense. It's kind of a light level of bullying,
Hmm.
and my guess is these people are somewhat insecure, who do this, and I don't think that they are. I don't really think they're interested. I don't think they care whether you have your shirt on or not. I don't think
It,
that's the point at all.
yeah, and it is insecurity. Like back to that concept of like you should like wear yourself on your chest. You should be yourself because one thing that I noticed when I was smoking weed and like kind of just not being myself and pandering to everybody around me was like you eventually become surrounded with like people that are just negative. Like I'll just be with people and it's like someone will do something totally normal and then someone will be like, look at that douchebag or this and that. And then I start to think, I'm like, I'm that douchebag that you are hating on. Like I
Yeah,
just don't show it. So it's just, yeah. Gotta be yourself.
yeah. I think I would think, let's say, depending on the situation, of course, if we were having the annual general meeting of our listed company, or the board meeting before the annual meeting or after the annual, I'd be surprised if somebody suddenly takes off their coat
Yeah, me
and
too.
shirt,
Me too.
But anyway,
Me too, man.
context dependent, I would suppose. On the other hand, yeah. Yeah, anyway,
Anyway, how's
so
how's are you doing February Carnivore month or how is January for you?
it was normal. It's I've it good. Yeah, and I'm just gonna. I think. Well, we're gonna kick off February. Obviously, I'm gonna join you at the beginning of your fast.
Hmm.
So I shared your post on Lars's organized fast, which seems to be. I don't know. I didn't look his post up, but I guess it's a week or something like that. I just, when I looked at your post, I just read 48 hours and I thought, okay, fine, I'll do a 48-hour fast.
Hmm.
My issue with longer fasts is that my sleep goes out the window after day two. And I'm not really, you know, I don't need to get my body fat to 8%. And I'm not, it's not one of my goals for this year. And you know, I, I'm in ketosis most of the time, so I'm kind of in a semi-fast state most of the time anyway. So I'll do a 48-hour, and that's how I shared it. And I'm not going to do a dry fast. It's not. I don't think it's. Let's say the science that I looked at says that I'm going to lose more weight if, and it's healthier for me if I do a water fast rather than a dry fast. But
Hmm.
anyway, I'm
Yeah.
open to argumentation.
No, I mean, I'm pretty indifferent. I think a fast is a fast. Like obviously, like getting granular, there's differences and probably benefits to if you're doing a water fast or a dry fast. But as someone that's fasted with water for like 40 hours, like that's pretty tough, pretty impressive in my opinion, especially if you don't do this regularly. So just like, there's like to me there's like a stoicness to it and like a mentalness to it. But like I mean, it's just water. Like you're gonna detox through your body and whatnot.
Yeah,
So
and I'd say if for those of you who are for those of you who haven't done a lot of fasting, and for those of you who eat eat 3 meals a day, so breakfast, lunch, and dinner, obviously a 48-hour fast is going to be is going to feel like more of a fast than somebody who is just eating 1 meal a day all the time. So I mostly these days I mostly eat 1.5 meals, to put it like that. So yeah, today I just had 1 meal, and but a big one. So
fasting's
yeah,
hard.
yeah. So it's just I'm just leaving out 1 meal. So that's a
Yeah,
48-hour fast.
you talk to some of these people and there's a lot of people that they do like fasting often or they do 1 meal a day often and but when you start to kind of break into what they're actually doing, it's like, okay, you're drinking coffee all day, or some people will supplement with electrolytes, which is like they're to each their own. Everyone has their different reasons for what they're doing, but like to actually like go ahead and no caffeine, no food or anything is like it's tough. And like for,
Yes.
go ahead.
Yes and no, but I think just to quickly reflect, and I'll let you go on. I When I do my 48-hour fast, I don't take supplements. So I leave the supplements out.
Me
I do
too.
have my morning tea, but my morning tea is my I have that in the morning, and yeah, it does have a little bit of caffeine, but yeah, I don't know if it makes a big difference. I don't know.
Right? I mean, it's a diuretic, but it's also a stimulant. So like if you're taking the caffeine, you're really getting rid of that hunger aspect, in my
It's
opinion.
true that, especially, I mean, I drink yerba mate, and this is definitely an appetite suppressant. But I'm not hungry anyway at that point, so it's not an appetite suppressant 24 hours a day. If you have a cup of it in the morning, it's.
Hmm.
I think the effect maybe lasts a few hours,
Do
but
you?
I think the uh, to me the fasting here is not it's not a religious exercise. It's primarily a health exercise,
Yeah.
and I agree with you to an extent. It's a mind over matter type of exercise as well, especially for those who don't really need to lose weight or anything else. It's maybe just a thing that you want to incorporate in your stoicness, to use your words. But I think for those who are are primarily looking for the health benefits, I think it's fine if you have your morning coffee. And um, I think there's a point if you are somebody who takes a lot of supplements, just be aware that some of the supplements, if you're like what's his name, the vegan billionaire guy who
Brian
takes 100.
Johnson.
Yeah, Brian Johnson. If you take 100 supplements a day, I mean that's kind of a small meal in itself. And I just have this is an ashwagandha capsule, and probably not a lot of carbs, a lot of anything in it, but there is something in it. So probably better to take it easy and leave out the supplements for a day. You're not gonna evaporate because you don't have your supplements for 1 day or for 2 days. So
Yeah.
do it the way you feel best, and there is no fasting police that's going to come after you if you do 47 hours instead of 48, or if you do 30 hours instead of 48 hours.
No.
Do what feels okay. If you start feeling uncomfortable and it doesn't seem to work, have a steak. It's not gonna You're gonna be fine. And then I think you could try, if it's something that if you're stalled in your weight loss process, then sometimes doing some extended fasting, or integrating one 48-hour fast a week can help some people to get the last pounds off. And then coming back to our egg week with James, which was very surprising, we lost 4.5 pounds basically in 4 days, and we were eating a good amount of eggs. In terms of calories, it was about probably over 1,500 calories a day. So both of us had the subjective impression that we actually lose slightly more weight doing an egg week or 4 days on eggs compared to fasting. So
And
there are options.
you didn't feel hungry. It wasn't one of those things where it's like, I'm only at 1,500 calories. I don't want to, because how people say like, I don't want to think about steak. Like it wasn't like that.
No, it was the calculation of calories. It was a post fast or a post egg week calculation. It wasn't. I wasn't calculating. I want to eat 1,500 calories, so I can only eat this many eggs. I ate as many eggs as I felt comfortable eating, which in my case was. It's between 12 and 15 jumbo size eggs in US terms, jumbo size eggs. So it's in European terms, it's those are eggs that weigh about 70 grams per egg and have about 8.4 grams of protein and about 6.5 grams of fat.
So it kind of suggests this concept of like the higher fat, and that's kind of what you and O'Haron seemed like you guys were talking about when you had her on the Hero podcast a couple days or a week or so ago. It like I think she actually coined the term lipivore, and how if you eat a certain amount of fats, and lipivore meaning because if you have a carnivore, they're basically they eat a lot of protein. So some people say that they do like gluconeogenesis, whereas like as humans, we're more on the fat side of things. And with the egg diet, proportionally, you're probably eating, it's got to be a little over 50% of your grams from fat or calories
Yeah,
from fat.
sure. It's because I also use butter to fry the eggs, or make scrambled eggs of part of it. It comes out in calorie terms. If you calculate the percentages, it comes out at about 75% of calories in fat
Oh, that's
and
really impressive.
25% in protein. So it's slightly in weight terms, it's just a little bit more fat than protein, but almost pretty close to 1-to-1 weight ratio. So
Hmm.
ounces to ounces of fat and protein.
So There's a guy on Twitter. A lot of people probably know him. X Fat Loss. I think his handle is X Fat Loss.
Sure.
EX as an X.
Hmm.
And been tweeting back and forth with him quite a bit lately. And he was suggesting this higher fat diet as well, and he's kind of extreme with it. Like he's really low protein, probably a little bit lower than I would
Yes.
recommend. But he also doesn't. He's not as physically active as guys like us, I don't think. But
Yeah, I don't know, but he's very.
he's
I'd say
smart.
he's definitely very experienced
His
in a
research,
very very high fat diet. And I think
yes,
he has kind of a he has like a countdown or kind of like a what when you have these upload bars. He has an upload bar thing in his profile where he shows how far he is in his weight loss process.
yeah, it's interesting. But
So
so for the last couple weeks prior to last week, my weight loss plateaued. So like typically, like when I'm eating healthy with carbohydrates, my weight's probably like 194, 195. When I'm out of shape, I'm like 200 plus. My weight plateaued at 185 to 186. And I'm training for ultra marathons. Me and my buddy do ultra marathons. So I'm trying to get down to like 175. So I'm problem solving. I'm like,
yeah,
what the
you
hell?
want to mhm.
Well, yeah, how can I keep dropping weight? I'm literally eating no carbohydrates and I'm eating lean red meat, suet fat. Like what's going on? And I didn't say that deliberately, but he said, well, he's kind of saying this stuff about eat more fat, eat more fat. So I'm like, okay, like I eat a shit ton of fat, but proportionately I eat a lot of protein too. I dry fish. When you dry meat, the protein doesn't get destroyed, it just gets denatured. So like if you utilize things like beef jerky and fish jerky, like it's really easy to eat a shit ton of protein. And so I was like, okay,
Yes.
I dwindled, like I pulled back on that, a little less jerky, wasn't eating as much pemmican as I was, and I started eating raw suet. So like first thing I'd eat every single day, raw
Hmm.
suet. Two things happened. For the first, my digestion was a lot more improved. So like without a colon, I just typically pass more bowel movements than an average person. I'm missing 6 feet of intestine. So actually three things. So bowel movements improved, thirst improved, and I broke the plateau. And I went
Mm,
from 185, 186 to 182 to 183. I think I put
nice.
a little bit weight on last night because I ate like 5 pounds of meat, but there's definitely some truth to it, like this fat lip of war concept.
Sure. I think maybe weight fluctuations within 24 hours. I think is maybe a little bit redundant, or it's not a relevant measure maybe. But I think if you look at it on a weekly basis, it's gonna tell you a little bit more about what's actually going on.
Absolutely. I was
Uh,
kind of just
yeah.
measuring it where it's like every day after work, I'll go to the gym, I'll do my workout, I'll do the
Mhm.
sauna, steam room, shower, then I step on the scale. And like it's like every day it would be 185, 186. But then like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it was 182, 183 consistently. And so that's where I'm like, I broke the plateau. Um, so and people will tell you like if you eat a lot of fat you're going to put on pounds. Not necessarily the case. We're actually extremely efficient at using fat. I mean, think about
Mhm.
it, like you get what is it, serum in your head, or there's oil everywhere on us.
Sebum. Yeah. Uh, yeah, and I think to if I'm not mistaken, the body, the liver is much more effective at it's most effective at converting carbohydrate into fat, into body fat, and next most effective at converting protein into body fat, and least effective of converting ingested fat into body fat. So maybe that's what's going on. Yeah, I don't know, and but if I think my advice for those who don't want to fast,
Hmm.
I would suggest that they consider doing an egg week. So it's fine to have some butter or some other fat with the eggs, but not don't have other dairy and no meat, not just mainly eggs and maybe a little bit of butter or some other fat. Try that, and I think quite a lot of people are gonna find that they can break their plateau. And I'm not, no promises that it's going to be good fun or delicious or satisfying or any kind of hedonistic anything. But I think if you take kind of an experimenting attitude to doing it, it can be quite interesting to see how effective it is and how extremely satiated you can be by eating just eggs.
Yeah.
And for those of you who um, have psychological or emotional problems with monotony, maybe it's not. You need to find other ways than egg week
There's 100
because
different ways to make
it's
eggs.
pretty boring. But
yeah, it seems like it. You guys are wild, man, for that.
yeah, it's just. I think the odd thing to me is that kind of on past day 3. I don't even want to get into the kitchen. It's just I just don't even want to think about food eating. So
did you do a lot of like hard boiled eggs, or was it mostly scrambled, or any type of eggs in particular?
Last time I didn't even have scrambled eggs at all. Just mainly hard boiled eggs and hard boiled and fried eggs. Yeah. So.
I got to be honest. I don't think anyone in America is going to try that with the cost of eggs right now.
Yeah, it's the timing. The timing maybe may not be so great. On the other hand, I don't know. It's not going to bankrupt you if you only eat eggs and nothing else. And if it's too expensive, you can just do an intermittent fasting. So do a week where you eat eggs 4 days and you eat nothing 3 days. So
that sounds even worse.
Then you can save some money. Fasting is cheap.
Yeah, fasting's cheap. The one thing I'll say with the fasting thing that I see often is like I see people that'll have like a shit weekend or and they're like, oh, I just ate like shit last night. Should I go on a fast? And like that's just you're teeter-tottering at that point. I think it's better to take a step back and say, hey, I fucked up. I ate shitty. But it's like this heroic effort stuff is just not. It doesn't work long term. I think you gotta look at it and say, okay, well, why did I bonk? What went wrong? What adjustment can I make to my diet to improve this? But
valid point.
If you work these extremes of I ate like shit, now I'm gonna fast for 2 days straight, it's not good.
Well, I think it's like most things. If the excitement level is too high, it's probably not going to lead to anything good, whether the excitement is positive or negative.
Very true.
So with fasting, I think it's I don't see a problem that if you've pigged out and then you do a fast the next day, do whatever you want and whatever fits your schedule best. And if that's the easiest for you, then do that. But I think in a therapeutic sense, you could consider integrating a 2 or 3 day fast from time to time. It doesn't have to be every week or not even every month, but maybe from time to time, if it works well for you, you can do it. And like me, I've done a lot of them, and so I've found that at my current weight, and I'm probably about, I'd say my body fat is probably around, I don't know, between 12 and 14, something like that. So I'm not super skinny, but if I fast more than 2 days, if it goes over 48 hours, so a 72 hour or 90, 100, etc., I can't sleep. My energy level goes up a lot, and the same thing happens for me if I get my body fat percentage close to 10 or below 10. My energy levels go up a lot, and my sleep suffers. And it's not worth it. I have visible abs. That's good enough. I don't need to look like a bodybuilder in competition mode. So
Well, yeah. Well, there's also, I mean, like I'm in the 100 club and I see like on Twitter and I see a lot of the bodybuilders and no disrespect to them all, but like that's obvious. That's just that. Like their big focus for them is physique. Whereas like part of us dieting isn't necessarily obviously you want to be in shape, you want to have good physique, but like
Sure.
I'm interested in thermoregulation and like just like the stoic concept and fasting and benefits of the stomach. I don't, I'm not injecting myself and eating a whole pizza and then going and working out for 3 hours at the gym because I took 400 milligrams of pre-workout. Like we're this is different. That's what people
It's
got to
yeah, it's
realize.
different for sure. And I'm not saying that it's necessarily. I mean, I don't know if it's extra beneficial if you can keep your body fat under 10%. I know Lars is very very focused on that,
Yeah, he
and I'm
is.
and I'm obviously very follow it closely, and I'm very interested in hearing his experience about it. I was I was probably around 8-9% body fat for about 2 years when I once I you know when I did my ketogenic, so in the beginning of my lifestyle change after I lost the excess weight. And uh, I feel I feel better at slightly above 10% body fat. That's just me, and the same clothes, the same jeans that fit me at 8% body fat. So I didn't need to go out and buy first smaller clothes and then bigger clothes. So
Yeah, I'm just kind of pushing the envelope a little bit this year, and so like last year was kind of the start of like the salt-free stuff for me, and just kind of putting two and two together, like without a colon that I can't absorb excessive water. Salt is making me consume excessive water, even if it's sitting in my stomach. Like, because you know how people say like, "Oh, I'm peeing all the time," and they say, "Oh, eat more salt." And then all of a sudden you're not peeing. Well, like for me that comes out eventually, and so like that I was like, okay, like carbohydrates were digesting better without salt, and so I wanted to kind of go down that rabbit hole because it's like to some extent it's like you don't know unless you know. So like I wanted to experiment,
yes,
and so then I did all that, and then start of the new year it's like okay, I've done the carb stuff, I'm doing the salt free stuff, I've done the carnivore with salt. I think I have a pretty good grip of these
sure.
different angles. Let's
Yeah.
start the new year. Let's go as hard. Let's see like let's try to get to our physiological best. And that's kind of where I'm at. And when I look at carnivores in nature, they all fast. Like a lot of animals in nature fast. And when I read about like plains Indian religions, like fasting was a commonly practiced thing in a lot of indigenous cultures. And so I I see there's a benefit to it, but again, like to each everyone's got different goals in life, and like you say, like at the end of the day, like you do have to push yourself a little bit. There is some
Sure.
uncomfortableness to it, and yeah,
Yeah, and I think you the key word here you just said it, which is goal. What are your goals? If you have some goals which require certain actions, you kind of got to do the actions, right?
yeah,
It's
that's
not
just it.
it's not gonna happen by itself. The good thing about the dietary stuff is that it's one of the few things if if you're carrying excess body fat. So if you're a fatty or otherwise carry too much body fat and you want to get rid of it, one of the few things where you actually have to, rather than do something more, you just have to do something less or stop doing certain things. So in a philosophical sense, at least, it's easier than many other things. So just stop eating carbs, stop eating all the time. Get the carbs out of your diet as much as possible. Reduce the amount of times you eat per day. So I would say at least have a 16-hour a period where you do not consume any calories and anything with any energetic or digestive consequences, and probably better and more effective if it's 18 hours or maybe even 20 or just one meal a day, but at least 16 hours, and then combine it if you want with some fasting. I don't think, honestly, I don't think fasting is not going to make such a huge difference if you do the if if you do the time restricted eating continuously for forever.
Yeah.
It's going to be very effective, and
A lot of
you
the
know,
weight loss people have on fasting is like water weight too.
sure, and this is the water. You know, most of that when you start losing weight in the beginning, you're gonna when you start consuming carbohydrates, when your insulin level goes down, you you will lose a lot of the what is generally called water weight. You're going to lose that pretty quickly in the beginning. So
Mhm.
you're going to have probably experience quite a significant weight loss in the beginning when as your insulin level goes down because you don't eat carbohydrates.
Yeah.
Yeah, and out goes a lot of the inflammation driving of that as well. So high insulin levels drive all kinds of inflammation in your body too. So
Hmm.
yeah, it helps get rid of the carbs and do time restricted eating. That's going to be effective for almost everyone.
Yeah.
And then if you plateau at some point, then take it as a game, do some experimenting, try some fasting, try an egg week, do something which is, and take it as a game. Don't focus so much on, I could never give up my whatever, fill in the blank.
Yeah.
No, it's just too boring. Who cares if it's, get over yourself, just try it out, see what you can do. It's up to you. You don't have to suffer, but you may have to put some effort into it, and the effort in this case is stop putting things in your mouth.
Yep. The game is problem solving, right? And like so
Mhm.
like do what you got to do at the end of the day because I'm not like super religious, but I'm a pretty firm believer in like the seven deadly sins. And like you might be on one path and say you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and then all of a sudden you realize something, but you want to do something just because of pride or like how people might look at you. Do what's in your best interest at the end of the day. Something like coffee, for example, I think that is a great solution for hunger, but for problem solving, it can be a slippery slope because I just see it like a lot of people.
Maybe
Then some well, right, yeah. If
it,
you
it, it depends. I mean, if you've been drinking loads of coffee for years and years and decades, you know you're
absolutely
gonna you're gonna have a massive caffeine tolerance, and it's not gonna make a whole hell of a lot of difference if you have a cup of coffee. But
no,
yeah, but your point is valid. And I think one of the things when you talk about seven deadly sins and all of these things, stoicism, etc., I think I would say the way I would put it is when I say get over yourself is you need to. It's in your own interest to, if you haven't done it yet, to start dealing with your ego, and you have to understand that you are not your ego, you are not your thoughts. You are you, your thoughts are separate, and the ego is separate. And you do not have to follow your ego. And I would say, my guess is that many people probably experience then when they follow their ego, it gets them into trouble more than it gets them into a good situation. So get
because
over
you're
yourself,
the
get
voice
over
comes.
yourself and do what's right for you. Nobody else cares. Only you cares
Yeah.
about you.
Ego is like when you might have a starting thought and a starting process, and then that starts to change, and your mind is telling you, "Oh, wait a minute, hold up a sec," but you're like, "Nah, fuck that shit. I'm doing it anyway." But with the coffee thing, what I meant to say is like someone like yourself, you drink coffee, right?
I don't actually drink a lot of coffee, no.
Or
Yeah, I drink my yerba mate. It has caffeine.
yerba mate, like anything with like caffeinated drinks. My recommendation would be make sure whatever your diet is works without the caffeine. If you're dependent on the caffeine to make your diet work, that I think you're putting hindrances on things. So it's like make
Yeah,
sure your
maybe.
diet works without it. You can thrive without it, and then these stimulated drinks really can become tools of success. But if it's a crutch, then that's where you can start to run into problems. Maybe you last a couple weeks and then all of a sudden you need to go eat that pizza. You got to go eat those chicken tenders. Make sure your
Yeah,
diet's sustainable, then bring it
sure.
back.
I I I don't think that drinking coffee is gonna increase your risk of a failure on a, let's say, low carb, ketogenic or carnivore diet. I really don't. But
For
I,
me with
I don't think it's as dramatic as that.
yeah,
But who knows what triggers whom? I
true.
think there are some people who have very good. Uh, I think some of the issues, some of the problems with food addiction is not even the food. It may be even an eating addiction,
Yeah.
or a I want to stuff my face addiction, and I think for many people, especially in the beginning when they are not seasoned new life changers like we are. I think for many of those, it might be helpful that rather than eating, they can go have their cup of coffee, or maybe even a decaf, or maybe a Coke Zero, or whatever. I'm not recommending Coke. I think Coke Zero is probably unhealthy. It has aspartame in it, and Pepsi Max, etc. But it might be something which is better to get you on the path and keep you on the path while it's maybe difficult, and some of your eating and drinking addictive tendencies, so stuff my face addiction, you can find an alternative behavior that's not going to make you fat in the process.
Yeah, so I
Just my
think with that it's like comes down to like flavors, and it's just like the flavors we have at our fingertips these days are not normal. And like you're gonna want to stuff your face in things that you crave, like ice cream and carbohydrates. But then there's
Mhm.
also certain things you can stuff your face in, and it's not necessarily as problematic. I think bacon's kind of an example of that. Like whenever my mom would make bacon, I always felt guilty because I ate like all the bacon. So
Yeah,
there's workarounds for it for sure. For me,
I'm drinking water, by the way.
ah, I can't drink coffee because like, it's kinda interesting, I used to take pre-workout and, like, I would get pretty fired up from it, like, caffeine is just really has a role with me, but when I would drink coffee, my hands will start shaking and, like, I get immediately, 1 sip and I'm wired and, like, I can't sleep at night, and so that's one thing I wanted to ask you too, like, have you ever tried fasting without the caffeinated drinks and still had, like, trouble sleeping?
Yes, I have. It doesn't. The caffeine. Um, I have it early in the morning, and it doesn't seem to have a lot of impact on my sleep. I have done some experiments with going without caffeine for a while, and it doesn't make a huge difference. No noticeable difference in how I sleep. So, but the fasting, that it drives my energy up a lot.
Interesting. Have you tried, like, a multi-day fast without caffeine?
Yes, I did. One of them I did, but I they after 48 hours. So the next, the third night of sleep gets disturbed. Yeah,
Interesting. Even without
regardless.
it. Hmm. That's kind of fascinating. And you probably are so lean too. Like, do you ever develop a tolerance for yerba mate, or is it like does it hit every time you drink it?
It doesn't really. It doesn't. Unlike coffee, you don't get shaky hands, or I don't get the shakes or anything. It's kind of. I'm guessing it has. I haven't checked, but I think it has somewhat less caffeine than coffee does
Oh, for sure.
per cup, and it's kind of a. It obviously has some other um, things in it. It just it's a nice. I feel good when I have a cup, but it's not a major euphoric or anything. But it's just
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's what I really like about theobromine, and this is for my Americans out there because coffee, or sorry, yerba mate is from the Yaupan holly plant, and there's actually a Yaupan holly plant native to North America. It's or the holly plant or something, but it's called Yaupan tea, and it's like the cousin of yerba mate. So this is like the only plant native to North America that has theobromine in it, which is what's in like cacao. And it's kind of interesting because like when I drink caffeine, like my energy levels kind of spike, like spike. Yeah, that's the right word to say. But with something like theobromine, pair that with a little less caffeine, it's more of a gradual onset of energy, and it seems to prolong. I don't know if uh, yerba mate has theobromine in it. We'll look that up. But theobromine is just like it's like another form of a stimulant. So caffeine's a stimulant, and theobromine's a stimulant. That's why if a kid has too much chocolate, he's gonna be all wired.
Let's check.
It does. Yerba mate contains theobromine.
Yes, yeah. So probably that's part of the part of what makes it good.
Yeah, it's just kind of weird because like with coffee you get the jolt, but with Yalpan, and I'm imagining with yerba mate because I've never had it, like you drink it and you just kind of chilling, you're kind of chilling, and then it's kind of like mushrooms. It's like next thing you know, you're like dialed in, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, I'd say it's mostly almost not really noticeable.
Yeah,
It's not specifically noticeable. What I do notice, and that's probably the effect of the caffeine, is that the very few times these days when I if I wake up with a very 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 slight headache, unlike before when I had headaches every day and migraines every week. So if I wake up with my very slight headache, then I have my cup of tea, and then it's pretty much gone within 15 minutes. It's gone, but that's probably the caffeine.
that's interesting. That's weird.
At least my understanding would be that would be the caffeine.
Are there minerals in yerba mate as well, like potassium or magnesium?
Let me see. I was just asking the question. It says here caffeine, theobromine,
Well, it does.
theophylline, polyphenols.
I
Did you
do
say
like
minerals?
yeah, it does. I guess it has magnesium. I'm pretty big on like minerals. Like I don't get too crazy about trace minerals, which I think are beneficial, but like I try to get potassium, magnesium, the right amount of sodium, and like I was talking to my mom, like she's like, how are you getting enough potassium in your diet on a carnivore diet? And I'm like, Mom, have you ever looked at how much potassium's in a pound of ground beef? It's like 1,500 milligrams. And the thing about minerals too is they're not destroyed by heat, so they're heat resistant, unlike vitamins.
Yeah, it seems to have it's quite. I don't know if it's high, but it's particularly. It has like 8 times more potassium than magnesium, and then it has a little trace amounts of manganese, iron, zinc, calcium, just and phosphorus, not very much. So potassium would be the main.
Oh wow,
The main one there from of the minerals. That's kind of 8 times more than the next one.
that's
1,000 milligrams per 100 grams of tea leaves.
wow. And according to Amber, because I remember the first time we were talking to her, she said like let's say you cook a broth, like if you make beef broth, those minerals will seep into the water. So that's why it's important that, if you cook your shit in water or something, have that as well. Just
Yeah, I'm just
fascinating.
looking here. I'm taking. I usually take these. This is in our language over here, but this is
Calcium.
potassium. So I take
Oh,
a potassium supplement in the morning, and then I have a magnesium supplement as well. Here.
magnesium kind of seems like a sleeper pick, low key.
Yeah, I don't know. So this is 800 grams of potassium, and this is 800 milligrams in a pill, and this is magnesium bisglycinate, 1,500 milligrams.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it has active. It says here. So elementary magnesium is 310 milligrams. So
Wow, that's good. So what are your goals for February? Or what do you got on the docket? You doing anything interesting?
not really.
Would be cool if I could get you and James out to the United States. I wanted to go to the
Yeah,
that whatchamacallit, the uh
COSI.
COSI, but I'm already going somewhere else. Otherwise maybe I would. But it seems like a lot of people go to that.
Yeah, it would be nice to go to some of these things. There was one week or two ago down in Florida. There's an annual one, which is the Low Carb USA organized one, annual conference, and then they have another one in San Diego as well, which is I think in August. Usually is in August.
August, okay.
But yeah, it would be nice. Nice. Maybe we can mobilize a hero presence at some of these in the future.
Absolutely. I think at least a year out, I've not heard of the other ones, but just from what I saw last year of COSI, like I know new Don went, you got Amber going this year, you got Dave Feldman and Nick Norowitz, and I think so much of us are already engaging on social media, and like a lot of us aren't anonymous. I mean, the next step, I guess, would be to kind of go and say what's up in person and meet some of the people, which is, I think that would be really cool.
Yes.
So, and yeah, with the whole hero thing, starting to do that more too, and hopefully post more in the hero community. If you're not part of it, feel free to join. It's kind of just health. What is it? Health for everybody.
Health for every region and origin. So it's kind of we developed an acronym. So the idea is that rather than saying "Make America Healthy Again," it's kind of like let's make the world healthy.
Be a hero.
Same kind of themes, but and I think of course our approach obviously is or our thinking is pretty low carb inspired, not necessarily no carb, but we are open to trying to influence both policy and also support people in eating a healthy whole foods low carb whole foods based type of diet, which has many health benefits. Even for those people who are healthy already, it can be an improvement.
Absolutely. And then, the other thing I'll say with hero, in my opinion too, I don't know what your and James's take is on this, but just a good, like, just for anybody that's interested in health, I don't think it should be necessarily a combative space. Like you say, a lot of us, most of us in it right now are low carb or carnivore people, but who's to say that you don't get some paleo people in there or whatever, and then all of a sudden you create a dialect and there's more conversation. Because like a lot of people right now, they kind of use the carnivore community as like a ketogenic community, a low carb community,
Sure.
besides just carnivore. And I think there needs to be a space, a community where people can share all these different types of thoughts, because the big thing I see with the carnivore community is like people say that it's like a cult. It's not a cult, you guys. There's a certain diet and it needs to be executed in a certain way. When you're eating spinach and asparagus, like just because it's low carb, like the fact is it's just not carnivore. Like
Yes.
it's like if I went to a vegetarian thing and 90% of my plate was meat, and then I'm like, "Oh, you guys are in a cult making fun of me." It's like, "Come on, just get
Well,
real a little bit."
I think it's like, if you're allergic to peanuts, you're just, you probably shouldn't eat peanuts, and this is the same to a degree. The same. It's not a question of ideology or a cult. It's a question of if you expect certain therapeutic health benefits, you have to, follow the diet. It doesn't make any sense. You can eat what you want, but it doesn't make any sense to argue uh, that a carnivore diet includes honey or blah blah whatever. Have honey if you want,
But
but
don't
if
call
you
it
do
carnivore.
that and if you have your spinach, whatever, if you have those, don't expect to get the benefits, all the benefits of a carnivore diet. Obviously, I mean, this I don't know why it even needs to be pointed out, but it does apparently.
That's
So
that's literally the differentiator between low carb and carnivore is the complete reduction of carbohydrates and plant matter. It's
the,
like, why it begs the question, why are you eating it
yes,
still?
yeah, no plants, the
Yeah,
plant free diet, and low carb is obviously not necessarily plant free, and ketogenic you can do also with some plants, uh, easy enough. There are plenty of plants which are quite low in carbohydrates.
true. The
So
one, and you are totally spot on. Like, no one's actually judging like what you're eating. Like, if you want to go and eat whatever you want, like eat whatever you want. It's just like, don't necessarily call it carnivore. And I think too, like we don't need to be like super anal about it. Like, let's say for one meal out of your 7 day, however many meals you have, if you have some berries or whatever, like, dude, no one gives a shit. Like, really, nobody does. But the one thing that actually kind of irks me a little bit is when I see posts of like avocado or olive oil, because I think a fundamental aspect of the carnivore diet is to use the right type of fats. Buying into this concept that Amber talks about, like we're lipivores. What does that mean? What kind of animal fat? What is the fat content? Stick to that. Like, don't say you got to eat avocado because you don't like tallow. You probably shouldn't be in the carnivore community at that point.
yeah, it, yeah, it's like, yeah, some people are have a very strong opinion that I refuse to live without eating bread. Fine, eat bread.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. uh, Nobody else cares. Only you care about you. But it's obviously not carnivore, and that's that. Simple.
Yeah, and I think about this a lot. Not that it like keeps me up all night, but it just like I just question sometimes, like, does it do more harm to the community? Because once you open those floodgates, you kind of eat yourself from within. And like some of those better voices like Amber O'Hearn and Sean Baker, they don't post in the carnivore community because why would they? Like, it's just so I think you got to have a certain standard, and you got to let certain people that'll welcome strong voices. But I've seen like, cuz like I don't know, like I don't want to get like too complicated with things, but like I've read into kind of like like my mom's side, and like the Métis people, for example. They're from the Red River Colony, St. Francis Xavier, and there's a certain cultural heritage to it. But then all of a sudden you got the Métis people of Ontario, or anybody that's, you know, got European indigenous blood in Canada. It says, oh, like, I'm Métis. It's like, no, you're not. There's a difference. And like what ends up happening is it hurts the original culture. And like, you gotta, like, when you open these floodgates to these non carnivore things, like, I think it hurts the carnivore diet. Like, but it's, the floodgates already open. It's never gonna stop.
Well, yeah, good question. I think you could argue that it's the more people are involved in discussing, talking about it, the more people will have the chance to understand and get the benefits out of it.
True.
And so what if somebody wants to add honey or eat a few avocados or whatever? Maybe it's not so important, but for those who really want to have max out on the benefits, you need to not eat any plant materials.
I like
It's
that.
it's not complicated.
Look at Meathead. Meathead's a prime example. Like, his name is literally Meathead. His picture is a guy with a brain with a steak inside of it, and like, he does his side quests. He doesn't post them in the carnivore community though, and like, I don't think he lost any followers from it. It looked like a lot of people were actually really interested when he did his honey diet. I think it's just like you say, like, just know the difference.
Yeah, and I think like he like many of us likes to experiment, and I
Oh
think
yeah,
one of the point is why do we do the experimentation and share it
yeah.
so that others maybe don't need to do the experimentation, or they can be motivated to do their own experimentation and see what works for them. So I think the point is that there isn't a cult, and there isn't an issue. So,
What up, James?
All right, James.
How we doing?
Good.
Very well.
I was gonna
So
say real quick, I love experiments. Follow X Fat Loss. He does a lot of experiments. So yeah, I'm not trying to be a stickler here. It's just within the guidelines. But do all the experiments. Like, I ate a lot of carbs last summer as an experiment. Just, it's whatever.
yes,
What's up, James?
Can you hear me?
yes,
Are we live?
yes.
How's everyone doing?
Doing good. How are you? Just off work?
Yeah, just finishing.
How was it today?
What's been the topics of discussion?
Yeah, we've been talking a little bit
quite
about
busy, yeah.
the fasting. I think I'm going to do a 48, and Lars and company, including Goody, are going to do 40 first, starting with a 48-hour dry fast, continuing with several more days of water fast after that.
I'm shooting. My goal
Nice.
is probably, I want to shoot for at least 72 hours. And so I'll take a picture beforehand at the start of the fast. I'll take a picture at the end of it too. But 4 or 72 hours, so like 3 to 5 days would be ideal for me.
That's pretty hardcore. So how many days is the dry fast, was it?
2.
2 days. I'm not going to be dry fasting. I'm just going to do a 48-hour normal water fast.
Is that starting tonight or tomorrow night?
Yeah, tonight. So it started or this afternoon. So I had my last meal at I think at about, what was it, 4:30.
Yeah, so for anybody listening that wants to get in on this, basically Lars has he does this thing called Carnivore Academy. So he's got a group of guys that he works with. And I like to, like, I'm part of it. I'm not actually in the academy, but like I still pull up and I like to talk to the guys and participate in shit. They're all pretty cool people. But long story short, there's a big group of people, at least 7, 8 guys, that are doing a multi-day fast starting at 7 p.m. tonight, Sunday. So whatever your local time is, starting around 7 p.m., that's when the fast is going to start. If you're looking for people to do it with, I guess this is your opportunity.
Yeah, and for those of you who've started before 7 p.m.,
Yeah, we're gonna
like
act as a
me,
support
you're
group.
welcome
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, I was thinking about starting at like 5 p.m. personally. So
Yeah. Yeah, I'm about 4 hours into my fast now. So
there we go.
yeah.
I'm trying to kind of load up on the nutrients right now. So
I could be.
you got time. What is it, 6 o'clock? Well, you've only eaten chicken thighs today,
Yeah,
so maybe eat something
7,
good.
10. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, I'll probably start in an hour and a half once I've eaten my dinner.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
I'm making a crock pot right now, like a stew, and I've got a beef heart in there. I've got some soup bones, and just trying to load up on the minerals a little bit, and then be good to go. Maybe I'll post a tallow shot. Might do a tallow shot tonight. We'll see.
Yeah. Just a quick
Push the
note.
boat out.
We broadcast, or we are live streaming, and I forgot to change the heading, so it says satiation on the heading. But anyway, just a quick word on satiation, so that we say something. We did already talk about the satiety stuff. A quick tip: if you want to get if you have satiety issues, just get some hard-boiled eggs. If you still feel hungry, have a few hard-boiled eggs or many, and you're definitely not going to feel hungry, even if you eat other things. So eggs are a pretty good hack for getting rid of hunger.
100%.
That's your guys' thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't even pronounce the name we gave it, Klaus. The egg-eating snake.
Oh,
diet.
the snake thing. Yeah. By the way, it's the year of the year of the snake started on the 29th. So it's the year of the green wood snake this year in the Chinese zodiac.
I did see that. I like that.
So Merry Chinese New Year to everybody.
Yes, Gong Hei Fat Chai.
You're a beast, man. I love it.
Wait.
That was Cantonese. About, roughly. Happy New Year in Cantonese. Yeah, I lived in I lived in Hong Kong. So
was there any of the bookmarks that you wanted to go through, Klaus? Anything interesting in your bookmarks? Like
not really, not so much. I
Congress
think,
or anything.
I think for some reason this week has been, or the past week has been very it's been very politics heavy on X. U.S. politics heavy, to put it like that, and it seems everything is about the whatever latest executive order has been signed, which is also, of course, very interesting, and of course the two tragic flight disasters. But so I haven't been very active in diet terms this week, other than eating. But,
yeah, we had a nice little debate on that, or discussion on that.
Yeah.
What's what are you talking, like the tariffs? Is that what you're kind of talking about with Congress, or?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the tariffs it's all
no,
interesting,
I was
isn't
talking
it?
about I was talking about RFK's Congress.
Yeah, let's see. What do you think? Is it going to be confirmed?
I hope so. I think there's a big lag from when I talk to when you hear me. So if it's too bad, then I can just come out if you want me to.
No, it's not bad.
Okay.
I would be shocked if he
then
doesn't.
Goody, what you was? Yeah, I suppose so.
I think it's going to obviously have a major. It's going to have a major impact, not just in the US. It's going to have a major impact at least in the EU as well.
Dude, everyone's coming at my boy Bernie, but I really think he's gonna. I think he's gonna vote in support of RFK.
Let's
I think
hope.
he's just asking tough questions, but I think
Yeah.
he'll vote in favor of him. I really do. I would be shocked if RFK does not get put into his position. Because especially with just
Yeah.
the optics of how everything looks, it's like that's not what people want to see right now. But interesting enough, because on Twitter, like my introduction to RFK was kind of on social media. And so everything that I've seen about RFK has been really positive, and I'm a big fan of RFK. My parents, they watch CNN, and I'm watching them talk about RFK like he's fucking Adolf Hitler. And it's just kind of interesting how that works.
There's massive disconnects with
Crazy.
general public opinions.
Why don't your parents listen to what he says and make up their own mind?
Well, it's more so one of
It's
my
a vibe.
parents, and I think it's just
Yeah.
kind of like a boomer thing.
But it's just there is loads of material of him speaking and expressing exactly what his opinion is, in unequivocal terms.
Yeah, I mean,
without filtration from journalists or anything. It's very easy to find.
Yeah,
just listen to that.
I 100% agree with you. I wish if I could just send him the Joe Rogan episode, I would do it. But I think some people get kind of manipulated into just wanting to have a debate instead of like what's the best cause. And I even myself, I have to take a step back sometimes and just be like, okay, what am I trying to achieve here? You know, there's just a certain thing with certain boomers, and I don't want to say names, but someone very close to me is completely psyoped, and it's kind of sad. It makes me really mad because he goes and sees a nutritionist, and the nutritionist says, "Oh, the only way you're going to lose weight is if you go on a starvation diet or if you get on Zepbound," and telling them to get on plant protein, and so
Good
then.
Lord.
But then it becomes a thing of credentials, and you got a guy like me who had my colon removed, and I say, well, hey, that's bullshit. You can fix yourself. But then the thing is, well, what's your credentials? I guess I don't have any. So.
Sure. Yeah. And then it's like, and it's very difficult to difficult discussion to have with anyone very close to oneself. And I think a lot of our friends here on X at least have a similar experience, that their friends and relatives in many cases don't really want to hear anything about carnivore, keto, or anything else, and they just think that we are more or less just odd or nuts. And the evidence staring them in the face, reversal of type 2 diabetes, people losing tens and hundreds of pounds of weight or whatever, all of that is completely ignored for some reason.
Dude, the carnivore thing baffles me because on Twitter, just like tying it into political spectrum, on Twitter it's extremely conservative. Probably 90. I mean, maybe I'll do a poll this week in the community. So. If anyone's listening right now, and make a poll in carnivore community and ask what their political affiliation is. Majority of people are obviously conservative. If you go in the carnivore community on Reddit, it seems like a lot of people are not. At least it's more. There's way less proportion of people that are conservative, and like me personally, like just in the real world, I do think it does lean conservative for carnivore, but I think this is a bipartisan thing. Like it shouldn't be a conservative thing, and I think
it shouldn't.
We gotta like when Trump got elected, it's like everyone's posting in their carnivore community. This is great. This is great. Well, hey, not everybody here is a conservative.
Yeah, and I think but I think the reason for that is that probably quite a lot of people who are then not conservative are very, very convinced about convinced of the agenda based on an almost religious belief in climate change, which was earlier it was called climate cooling. Then it was rechristened to climate. What was it? Greenhouse greenhouse effect, and then it was changed to climate change because it wasn't really going in one direction. But they are very invested in that, and
Yeah, they also said that the ozone layer was going to disappear as well, didn't they?
Yes, and connected to that agenda is the agenda of getting rid of meat. Is getting people on a diet or feeding them food which is synthetic mostly, so food which is created and mass produced in factories.
Yeah.
And so they're bought into that whole agenda, which is based on various things, and part of it is based on the faulty or the manipulated and faulty so-called research of Ansel Keys, which in its current form is called the dietary guidelines in many countries, and they're the same. The American ones, they're the same over here. They're based on the same.
That's what I say.
Data.
Less Ansel Keys, more Ansel Adams.
Yeah.
And my rebuttal, not to you, but to these people, like, because like you're exactly right, like the environmental aspect and animal agriculture. My thing is like, I would say if you get an environmentalist saying something like this, there's probably a little bit of truth to certain farm practices, but my rebuttal is ask them about how, or maybe tell them, just say, hey, look at water intensive crops like soybeans and corn. That is literally depleting water resources faster than they're replenishing. What do you like? That's what do you have to say about that? And you know,
Well, I think it's part of the part of the religion of that political spectrum is that you do not need to answer these kinds of questions. Because
True.
if things which do not fit the narrative, they simply do not exist.
That's true.
And if you ask that's why you're not allowed to ask the question.
True.
Unfortunately, that's that's it. I mean, it. So, and I think maybe it seems to me at least that many conservatives, they have one of the advantages they have is that they just have, they have a religion as a religion. They don't need to have a political agenda, health, environment, whatever. They don't need to have that as a religion. Food, it doesn't need to be a religion. It's just what's good for you, and can we do it or not. Information based, data based, and then religion, something they can practice on their own time, unrelated maybe to a large extent to data, facts, science, etc. And this can be practiced on their own time and every Sunday in church and whatever. And I'm not saying all carnivores are Christians who go to church on Sunday, but my guess would be that there is quite a correlation there as well.
Yeah. One more thing I'll say too on the topic is, I really feel like there's a war going on meat because
Yes,
it doesn't matter if it's a cheap supermarket or not. Meat prices are high everywhere, and like these vegan people, like I get like the jokes and stuff, but like the organizers at the top are not stupid people, and they're definitely waging a warfare against meat consumption, and they're not necessarily just going and protesting at factory farms and shit like that, which a lot of us are against to begin with, factory farming.
For sure.
They're changing the rhetoric. They're getting in news headlines. They're talking to the right people. So that's why I think it's critically important that something like a carnivore diet is a bipartisan thing, because we don't want to have it so the only people doing carnivore diet are conservatives. We need to have people on both sides of the coin that are fighting in our favor, and then that's going to help, stop some of this anti-meat rhetoric. But if
for sure, absolutely, and I think also I think maybe I'm not entirely sure that I'm not entirely sure that there are two sides here. Well, to an extent, there are two sides, obviously, but there may be more sides, or the two sides may not be the two sides that we are told that they are.
Yeah.
And I think we we probably all can see that looking at American politics, that it doesn't really make a huge difference. Historically, it doesn't make a huge difference whether this side or this so-called side or the other so-called side was in power and how long. But really, it's more a question of the group of people, whatever their politics are called, they belong to an inside group of privileged people, and we do not belong to this group. So,
yeah, I mean that's the T right there. I mean, like, I go back to Meathead's post, like USDA chief of staff that was appointed by Donald Trump is a seed oil lobbyist. What does the chief of staff do? A senior leader who manages administrative, financial, and operational activities for an executive. Like, someone.
She gets the donations from the seed oil lobby, maybe.
Yeah, that's what she's gonna do. All right. I mean, I think it's good to have your political views and whoever, and like Trump is definitely like seems like an outsider from the cabal or whatever you want to call it. But like, I still think at the end of the day, no matter who we all support, we should not give them the benefit of the doubt. We got to have high standards, because why would they say, "Oh, you're questioning me"? Like, fuck you then. Like, they should say, "Well, let me prove this to you." Like, I need proof at this point. That's what I think everybody needs. And so
yes,
don't let your, this is one of the craziest things I see is like, don't, like, just use your eyes. Use what's in front of you. Like, people are going to try to convince you of this and that. Just trust your eyes and what you see and how you live and how you feel, because that's
the proof's in the pudding, right?
Exactly.
And I think that's why
I've just got to go because I'm going past the police.